Hello there, folks. Well, it's Wednesday today. I've been to the dentist for a checkup. Mustang CB1000, top of the stack of the sets Mark was going through, ones we've either bought or have had donated over the last few months. So he wasn't able to test this, so it's got a red sticker, no power lead, unable to test, it says. And it's a gift radio. So it has one of the power sockets. It's supposed to have one of the power sockets that you can't get and haven't been able to get for decades. So I'm just wondering, seeing as it's our set, can I file out and put in the later type of socket? So although it would be a bit longer than it should be, the retaining lugs are such that I don't think it would pull through. So that's something I think worth doing. But just to see whether the set's at all doable, it might not have any innards in it. Oh dear. That's not good. May have been underwater. Oh, that's the socket which is pretty pointless. So we'll just connect it with our pins while we make up our mind. Whether the set's doable or not. So it's a Cybernet 002F chassis, as also used in the genuine Amstrad. And apart from the fact these have a Roger bleep that's on all the time, I like them. And as I've said many times, one of my favourite sets of all time is the Mustang 3000. We've got one of those in the stack. And I did buy that. Right, we'll switch the power on, 13.8 volts, switch the radio on, and it lights up, and it's now on channel 20. Does it transmit? It does. Right, well, we'll put the picture-in-picture on. No, that's not picture-in-picture. I don't know what I've done. Something went off the monitor, and it came back again. So we're on channel 20, 13.8 volts, and the radio is doing 3.1 watts. I go over to channel 40, and the radio is doing 2.9 watts. Go over to channel 1, and the radio is doing 3.1 watts. Go back to channel 20, and the radio is consuming 1.49 amps. That's a lot for the power output. On low power, the radio is doing 170 milliwatts. Let's call it 180 milliwatts. Get back to normal power, and the deviation, wow, it's showing at 1.9, but we don't know whether the Marconi test set's playing up today. The frequency, test gear's only been on 10 minutes, 27,79111. So that's fine, it will come up. So we'll do the VCO. I think these are negative earth, but just in case they're not, we'll ground the meter to a coil. Test point is the far side of that resistor. And transmit 2.4. I'm going to have to get the service manual out. I've forgotten the procedure, but that's near enough for now. Remember, like a sieve, always have had. So let's see what the receiver's doing. 79111. So we'll make sure the signal generator is tuned to the same frequency the radio is actually working on. So that I'm not giving you unfair off-frequency results. And we need to plug in our extension speaker. This set also has PA, so we'll plug in the PA speaker at the same time. Testing 1 2, testing 1 2, testing 1 2, 1 2, 1 2 1 2. Dirty volume control. Right, we'll go back over to CB. Yeah, pretty dirty, isn't it? Go to the Cybernet meter on here. And this is set receiving because I can't hear anything. It is when I put it on channel 20. These are normally quite sensitive sets. I mean, even the fake Amstrad's quite sensitive. It's just got a rubbishy squelch. It's 0.39. The 10 dB, it's 0.34. Very good figures. And 0.76. Squelch. Never opens on full. And on threshold, let's go with that. On threshold, plug that. It's coming at 0.28. S meter, let's put S9 on the signal generator, and it is supposed to be 100 microvolts, it's 66. And on transmit, the key up should be sent to the red zone. It virtually is, but it won't be when I've tuned it. PA's working. Right. Why on earth is that chip in a socket? Why on earth is that chip in a socket? The idea of them not being in sockets is because the socket pins can tarnish and it affects performance. Oh well. Well, it's not something I have to change, but it's not needed. Right, we'll go over to the main meter and see whether we can get this doing a little bit more, or whether we're going to have to change the ballast resistor. These are quite chunky, but they're only 3 watts, so you can't expect the radio to do 4 watts with a 3 watt dropper resistor in there. So we do change them for 6 watt resistors, so they're on top of the job. So we're looking for tuning to the centre of the peak. It's not just a matter of the peak, it's the centre of the peak. So far those have been spot on. And that one, bigger tool. No, that's it. It's been set to peak. So we'll change the ballast resistor. It's a bit warm now. I've been transmitting. You don't say, they all say. We've got these in stock. I have to buy these months in advance. We'll transfer the thingies over. Heat shrink sleeving, and I'm going to have to hold on to that and solder one pin, because it's otherwise going to. This is how to solder the dodgy way, but I'll come back to that. Let's just held it. Good. Right, we'll see if we can tune it again. It's doing 3.8 watts now. Just need to make sure these aren't stretched as well. Placement of these coils is critical. Yes, see that? Just moved it. I've not done anything to it. We're much nearer 4 watts now. I can write down 3.95 on that, and that's now the set's hot. So I won't do the power, but I think we can say 4 watts. 3.9 on channel 40, 4 on channel 1, low power is now 230 milliwatts. And the radio is now drawing what in high power? 1.6. Make sure that's not overheating. It's not. Right, we'll look at the frequency now. In fact, now it's cooled down. It's overpower. Right. Frequency 2779. See if it just comes up a fraction. If it doesn't, it doesn't. It's neither here nor there. Well, it does. Alright, we'll go through the receiver and now set the signal generator to the proper frequency, 2779125. And we'll start with the detector and we'll look at that on the oscilloscope. That was already spot on. Now we'll go to the cyanide meter, just see whether there's anything can be gained, but it's already excellent. So with about 4 dB on the cyanide meter, we're not saturating the receiver. We'll start at the front end. That was already spot on. And that. We'll move on to the intermediate frequency ones with a bigger signal. Not that big. About 10 dB. Just had a crystal filter put in instead of the ceramic filter. And although I don't like modifications, I'm not going to take that out and change it back to a ceramic one when it's working, and it is working. And with sensitivity like that, it's not caused it to be deaf, which can be one of the problems. But don't get overexcited over crystal filters, because anyone who's slightly off frequency or over deviating will come through worse, even if it's better for bleed over. And of course bleed over is often caused by people transmitting on several channels at once because their deviation is too high. Now, I can't see that I've made any improvement, but I may have done. I've gone through it. So for 12 dB, it's 0.36. For 10 dB, it's 0.32. So 20 dB, 0.73. You know, what we gained, another 4 inches in receive. But the biggie on this is that squelch. So let's do the meter. So that's now going to be S9. That's meter, isn't it? That is now S9. Tick that off. And on transmit, it wants to be in the centre of the red zone. It's actually showing less now on transmit than before we did it. So we've gained, what, 0.9 of a watt extra out of it, and it's reading less. Centre of the red zone. Notice how it lights up red when you press transmit. I sometimes forget that, but the 3000 doesn't. And we've got one of those, as I keep telling you. So it's the squelch next. So has it improved? I don't think it will have done. So I've turned the squelch to full. And we'll go to the attenuator on here. And 1, 3, 10, 30, 100. I want it to open at 100 microvolts. Can't always get anywhere with these. But at least it's the genuine thing. And that's working beautifully. So these LA, what are they? 1230 chips, which are the FM subsystem from Sanyo. They're intended for hi-fi stereo systems for FM radio tuners. And when you're tuning between stations, they call it in hi-fi, they call it muting. So we call it squelch in two-way radio. So between stations, they want it to mute. So it's using that internal mute circuit on the chip. Just in case you wanted to know that. So it's now 100 microvolts, so that's as it should be. So let's see where the sensitivity is, or have I ruined it? So set the squelch to threshold. Signal generator back on. No? .6. It's one of the best I've seen for squelch. Right, so I'm going to go for a break, and we'll just do the deviation when I get back. So I'll have that plugged into the test instrument. Okay, I'm back, and the deviation has just been checked on the other test set. It's exactly as it should be. So there we go. We just need to do the VCO. Remind myself what we do. Yeah, it is channel 1. So 2.11 on, wherever my pen's gone, 2.11, so we'll do transmit first, 2.44 plus 2.11, and it should be 2 volts. Just drop that transmit one. Not easy. Now I've lost my earth. Now we've got 2.03, it's not in camera, 2.03 for my transmit and 2.12 for receive. I've just dropped that one as well. And on transmit, sorry, I'll just check retransmit. And on channel 40, 3.3, 3.3. So that's in lock. So that was correct. It was 2.2 to 2.5 kilohertz, and it's now 2.2 to 2.5 kilohertz. So that was spot on. Now I've got a dirty volume control. Yesterday I dropped the switch cleaner. And do I know where it is? No. What I'm going to do is I'm going to file a bit of cabinet away and see whether I can fit one of these later type sockets which we can support. So hopefully this will work out. I've had a needle file and I've kind of expanded that enough for it to take the socket that I've just put down somewhere. Oh, it's inside. So it's positive to the top. So that will tightly go in there. In actual fact, it is the right width and length. Right, can I withdraw that? So I need to put the wiring in. Had a new bit come for this iron. It was getting a bit short and manky. Right, so with that soldered onto the pins, hopefully we can get this the right way around. It's positive to the top. And there we go. Good. Right, well, we'll just make sure the radio still works. It does. And we'll deal with that volume control. Where has the service all gone? Right, so that's all done. And we'll put the lid on and find out whether the speaker works. I've cleaned the volume control. This isn't the original speaker. we do have a Harvard Good Buddy on the shelf, which may well be in that category. But I'm not going to pick through them. We'll do them in the order they appear, except when there's several of the same type, and then we'll skip across to another pile. Just do them between customer jobs and between those Lancashire ones which end up on eBay. I think we'll be doing another of those this weekend. Got an audio line 340 in that batch, which is next in the pile. Right, so of course we haven't got a power lead on here, have we? So although we've done this, we'll still have to do it with the crocodile clip. Well, no, Roger. I think they've all gone for tea. It's about 6 o'clock. Okay, so we'll get an on the air test done, and that's the first Mustang 1000 off that pile done. Thanks for watching the Mustang CB1000 using the Cybernet 002 F chassis from 1981.